For MFA Incorporated, this is Tom Stever of Brownfield Ag News with Jason Worthington, Senior Staff Agronomist with MFA. Jason, I understand that rust has been discovered in the area.
Yes, actually, a couple of our crop consultants with our Crop-Trak program were the first ones to document rust in the state of Missouri this year. We've had some confirmed around Montrose, Missouri, also around Centralia, Missouri this year.
Why is it so unusual so early?
Normally, rust won't survive during very cold temperatures. It's something that's generally wind blown in from the south. From Missouri, southeastern Kansas south, a warmer winter than normal. They've been finding rust in Arkansas, Oklahoma earlier than normal. So when we get some southerly winds, it's going to be blown in. That coupled with the fact if you leave a green bridge, something like volunteer wheat, out through the winter, and we don't have that hard winter to knock the rust out, it leaves some of that inoculum for it to reinfect the wheat crop coming up this year. Those are two factors that probably have led to earlier infestations this year in Missouri.
What is it found on?
Right now we're finding leaf rust. We're also very aware that we're finding stripe rust to the south of us, but they're both very serious diseases when we're looking at wheat crops this time of year.
What's the upshot? What does it do?
Well, the leaf is the factory for the plant. It produces chlorophyll, catches the sunlight that in turn will produce the grain for us later on. Leaf rust, stripe rust, both attack the surface area of the leaf. Whenever you have that scarred tissue, that leaf can't produce carbohydrates for the plant that's necessary. So anything you can do to maintain leaf health is going to provide a better factory for that plant later in the year. So we're just trying to keep green, healthy leaves. That's our whole goal with this right now. Luckily, right now, the rust seems to be at pretty low infestations. The fact that it's present is what's troubling, because we know it can explode rapidly. But we're catching it early through frequent scouting, and we got a lot of control options that we can implement, keep those leaves healthy, prevent much yield loss just by knowing that it's present at this time of year.
What are the treatment options?
There's several good fungicide options out there. I like to recommend multiple modes of action. Just like when we're dealing with weed resistance, disease resistance can be a big issue. And of course, we're not just dealing with rust only. We want to control other diseases that might come along. So I like to recommend multiple modes of action, a triazole and a strobilurin fungicide on there. And the one thing about an infestation this early, if we go out and treat right now, we're making some herbicide applications on our weed anyway. We can save an extra pass on this early application by putting some fungicides in with our herbicide application. That doesn't mean we got to stop scouting for it, because that's only going to last so long. Once we get further into the wheat crop, the potential will be very high for reinfestation later in the year or two.
And most fungicide options, are you able to tank mix them?
Yeah, most of them. I'll tell you to check the label on anything. If you have questions, contact your agronomist, one of your MFA specialists. Always check the label on that, but we have a lot of good options able to tank mix fungicides with our herbicide.
And also, MFA has some options in order for producers to keep ahead of situations like this. Talk about the Crop-Trak program.
Yeah, absolutely. Crop-Trak program is MFA's intensive crop scouting program. We have a lot of growers taking advantage of it. It's a rapidly growing program for us across our entire territory. What a grower will get when they enroll in the Crop-Trak program, whether it be corn, soybeans, wheat, is a consultant. They'll come out, help develop a good preseason plan for you. But as we know, plans change. Just like we found rust, here early this week, our plans have to change a little bit. And how we're able to adapt is through frequent and thorough field scouting. Every week during critical growing periods of the crop, our consultants are out there walking fields for our growers. We have a lot of very good growers out in the country can do a good job of this, but a lot of the time they don't have the time to do it. Having that trusted set of eyes out in the field is how we can stay ahead and catch problems like this. The first 2 documented cases of leaf rust in the country were caught by our Crop-Trak consultants out in the field this year.
In a nutshell, then, how does the Crop-Trak program help producers keep ahead of situations like the one we've been talking about?
Well, it's a proactive approach. For example, it may be really easy to see leaf rust late in the year when your leaves are browning. You have an off-colored tint to the field. You can see that from the field edge. But by having somebody going down there getting belly down on the wheat right now, getting nose to that wheat leaf, finding these rust pustules before they've ever done any economic damage, we know the proactive steps to take now to prevent that yield loss that we have to, especially when growers are doing everything they can to make sure they're going to have a profitable year this year.
In what you've scouted or what's been scouted up to this point, talk about the wheat crop in general and how it's doing this year.
You know, I think our wheat's doing pretty well this year. We're seeing leaf rust. We're also seeing powdery mildew. That's not as uncommon this time of year. That's another disease we have to look out for. The earlier planted wheat's tillered out very well. It's got a good base under it. The later planted wheat, like normal, as you'd expect, is a little bit behind. Got a few more tillers to catch up. But that's another thing we're evaluating right now on field to field, trying to time up our nitrogen applications to either induce early tillering or maybe delay it to provide a little more yield potential by a later nitrogen application.
What do you expect this early warm-up to do to grower attitudes in there and how soon they'll get in the field?
Well, we've seen a lot of action here in the last couple of weeks where the ground's been suitable to go. I'm no different than a lot of those growers. When I see beautiful weather like this, I'm anxious to get out in the field, start looking at things. But we've seen a lot of things happening in the fields because of this early warm-up.